Hello, everyone. It's Miss Cates again. I'm back doing our review for Unit 4, which is on quadratics. I'm in the hot classroom. So basically, I'm just going to go through all the main topics that we went through for quadratics. Okay, so the first thing, let me just make this full screen. Hopefully this works. All right. We wanted to realize that the graph of a quadratic function is called a parabola. So it's very important that you know that name and what it looks like. They are going to always take the form, of, see if I can scroll down here. Hang on. Scroll down. They're going to take the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, okay? And they're going to be a U-shaped. This would be a positive, which I'm going to go over in a second, and this one would be a negative. Okay. The important parts of the graph of a parabola are whether or not they're positive or negative, the vertex, which is the turning point, and that's either a maximum or a minimum, the roots, and the axis of symmetry. And I'm going to go through all of those key points. So the first thing has to do with positive and negative. Remember, positive is just going to mean that it opens up. It makes a U or a smiley face. So I can just say opens up versus a negative opens down. And I just think of this kind of as a frown versus a smiley face. Okay. Next thing you may want to pay attention to is a minimum or a maximum. If it's a positive, then it's going to have a minimum as its turning point. Versus if it's a negative graph, it would be a maximum or its highest point would be its turning point. So positive turning point is minimum, negative turning point is maximum. All right. The next thing has to do with the roots. So the roots are found where the graph intersects the x-axis. So where the graph crosses the x-axis. Okay, I'm just going to turn that so it's a little straighter. I'm just going to actually sit and pull out a pen because I think it might be a little bit easier. Okay. So where the graph from this little crosses the x-axis. Now, I'm just going to pull out the highlighter for a second. These would be at -2 and at 2. Now, you can also find the roots by factoring an equation, but this is also if you're just looking at it. Okay, I'm just going to put it on pause for 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, the next thing is the axis of symmetry. So what you need to know for the axis of symmetry is the equation. The equation is always x equals, and then it's going to be -b divided by 2a. You must always put this in the form of x equals. It must be an equation. Okay, this is also the point where the graph is symmetrical. Okay, as you can see here, the equation is x equals -2, and it's always x equals. Now, this example, let's just pull this full screen for a second, asks to sketch in the axis of symmetry, which we actually already did for you, and then to write the equation. So there's a couple ways we could do it. They give us the equation on top, so we could just plug in for -b over 2a, or we can just look at the line. So I'm going to go ahead and use the equation, pretending that the line was not there for a second. So let me just put in the text. So for number 1, I would say x is equal to negative b divided by 2a. And if I look at the equation above, let's just move this for a second. Oops. Okay, b is equal to negative 2, and a is equal to 1. So if I plug in, I get x is equal to 2 divided by 2 times, 2, and this is divided by 2 times 1. So I get x is equal to 2 divided by 2. I get x is equal to 1. And then you can see that this line is drawn right here at x is equal to 1. So that would be the axis of symmetry. Now, when they ask us, this would be for question number 1. When they ask us to find the vertex, let me make this a little bigger. What we're going to do is just plug in the equation x is equal to 1. So I'm going to do that now. Let me do this on the board. So for number 2, my equation is x squared. I think it was minus 2x plus 8. Let me just double check I wrote that correctly. Can't see if it's minus 8. Okay. And all I'm going to do is take my answer here and plug it in. So it's going to become 1 squared minus 2 times 1 minus 8. And I'm going to see what my y value becomes. So 1 squared is just 1 minus 2 minus 8. And then I'm just going to do the computation from left to right. So 1 minus 2 is negative 1, minus 8 is negative 9. So my vertex is the point 1, negative 9. Okay, I'm going to scroll back up to the graph and let's just make sure that this is what it is. So if we look up at the graph, here's 1, and if I go down, here's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's the vertex. And then the last question is it a maximum or a minimum? Well, since it's a positive parabola, that's the lowest point, so we could say that it is a minimum. All right, next thing, graphing. So this basically tells you how to graph the parabola. What you want to do is you want to put the equation in y equals. So let me just go up here. Our example was y is equal to x squared minus 4x. You want to put that in your calculator, and then you're going to prepare a chart. So here would be your chart. X, here's your equation y, and then what you're going to do is plot all your points from the table, and you're going to connect your arrows. So we have x squared minus 4x. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in a couple of points from my calculator. So I'm just putting it in right now. Y equals, and I'm plugging in x squared minus 4x. And I'm going to go to my table, and I'm going to plug in some points. So let's do this. I'll just write them in. So I have the point 3. Whoops, I'm on the wrong pen. 3. And then I have 4, 5, and then I'm going to also put in some negatives. So let me move these down actually. I'm going to actually type these in. It's going to be easier. So I'm going to put in -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then those correspond to 5, then 0, then -3, -4, -3 again. And if you notice, my points are going to be symmetrical, so I'm going to get a pattern, and that's what you're trying to get, is a pattern. 0, and then 5 again. All right, so now I'm going to go over to my graph, and I'm going to go ahead and graph these. So first one, let's use my pen. -1 goes to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 0, 1, -3, 3, 2, -4, 3, -3, 4, 0, and then 5, 5. And then I'm going to go ahead, you have to excuse my drawing, but just connect them and make it look like a U. It should be better drawn than that. Okay, and again, it was just really important that you connect all your dots. And that's it. Okay. So that's really all you need to know. I would just make sure you review how to find the vertex. Remember, you're always going to use this equation. X is equal to -b over 2a, which is right here. And then once you get that, you're going to plug in the value. So this equation right here, if I could highlight it, is really important. X is equal to -b over 2a. That is the axis of symmetry. All right, so tomorrow you will have your review packet on quadratics. And if you have any questions, you'll let us know. Have a good one. Bye.